Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the FiiO KA5. So this is a USB-C DAC and dongle and made by the Chinese company FiiO, who's well known for making many different audio related devices, especially DACs and amplifiers and DAPs, which are digital audio players. So this is really within their realm of expertise, and I've definitely used some FiiO devices before. In fact, 10 years ago, I used a FiiO USB-C, not USB-C, but USB-A DAC and amp. And yeah, it was pretty good for the time. And then I went through different FiiO devices. I think I had the FiiO X7, which was a DAP. And recently, I think I got the FiiO KA5 headphone amplifier and DAC, which is actually quite impressive for the price. So yeah, these ones actually pretty good for the price. These are $100. I got them. They're actually a little bit more than that, but you can get them online for about $100 refurbished, which is a pretty good price. And yeah, the main reason is because my current USB-C dongle DAC, which is the Shanling UA2. This one is pretty good, especially for the price. This was $80, and I think the sound is really nice, and it needs a little bit more power. So it only outputs 125 watts through the single-ended and 195 watts through the balanced mode, and the balanced is a 2.5 millimeter. So they updated it for a new one, right? The new version of the UA2 to add the 4.4, because the 2.5 millimeter connector is being phased out now in favor of 4.4 Pentagon. So the newer UA2 definitely has the 4.4, but I wanted to try something different. I wanted to get a newer USB-C DAC with 4.4 that has a little bit more output power as well. It may be, a little bit of a different sound. So the DAC that the Shanling UA2 used was the ESS 9038Q2M, which is a very neutral sounding DAC actually. So it's pretty good. But, I was just curious what FiiO brings to the table with the KA5. Not to mention that this one definitely looks higher end. It has like a display as well, and the Shanling UA2 doesn't have any kind of controls or display. And for just a little bit more money, just $100, this one's $80, just a little bit more money, and this one has a bit more output power as well. Well, the single-ended is about the same. Single-ended is about 122 milliwatts compared to 125. So the single-ended output power is about the same, but the balanced output power is 265 milliwatts compared to 195 here. So this one definitely has more power on the balanced. So yeah, let's take a look. FiiO KA5, which they did in collaboration with their partner Jade Audio, which actually, I think they might be a FiiO subsidiary. But anyways, FiiO quick start guide here. With Chinese company, a lot of Chinese here. Let's see, they should have English though. Okay, buttons and ports. So yeah, you got a 3.5, 4.4 balanced, and you got actual controls on the dongle here, which is nice. Because yeah, my Shanling does not have any controls at all. So you have a multifunction button on it. You can short press once to play and then play pause. Press twice to turn on and off the display. Hold 2 seconds to activate exit the settings. Short press once to increase the volume from one level. Hold for 2 seconds to play the previous track. And okay. And the volume minus button. Okay, so volume plus button can also act as a previous track, and volume minus button can go to the next track. Okay. And then you have the display information here. So you can display the current volume level, high gain, low gain, 5 digital filters. It has 5 filters, I guess, preset. UAC version it supports UAC 1 and 2, the SPDIF working state, and then the sampling rate. So it's pretty cool. And then they've got settings menu too. That's SPDIF. That's another thing, by the way. Not many USB C DACs or dongles have SPDIF support, but this actually has SPDIF output, which is pretty cool. Yeah, decoding. So I think this can decode MQA, but I'm not sure. I don't use MQA anyways, so that doesn't matter too much to me, but it might matter to some people. All right, what else do we get here? Okay, so we get a bag of silica gel. Looks delicious. And then we get a USB-C to USB-A converter, in case you have an older legacy device you need to connect to. USB-C to USB-C cable, very short. And then another, USB-C to Lightning. Yeah, because, you know, iPhones have Lightning. Well, nowadays the iPhone changed to USB-C with iPhone 15, but older iPhones all use Lightning cable, right? So they give you a USB-C to Lightning adapter. And here is the DAC itself. Alright, so compared to the Shanling UA2, it definitely is thicker, that's for sure. Part of the reason is because it needs that 4.4 bounce connector, but also because it includes a display, so it needs a little bit more circuitry for that. Both high-res audio certified, of course. And then back it says Jade Audio on this one, KA5 DAC and headphone amplifier. So yeah, this one has a little bit more power on the balanced, and more importantly though, it has a display, it has a 4.4 millimeter balanced, and it has physical controls on the dongle itself, so it's convenient without having to take out your phone. So yeah, this one has volume up and down, which can also be used to play the next track or previous track, and it has this button here which is play and pause, and I think the on button as well. So yeah, let's check it out. First I'm just going to test it out with my phone, and then we'll be testing the output compared to the Shanling. See if there's a difference. So by the way, the DAC that this uses is pretty interesting. It uses two CS43198 DACs. So that's, I believe, the same DACs that's used in Astle and Kern's entry-level A and Norma players, I think. So yeah, they're not ESS DACs, they're not AKM DACs, they're Cirrus Logic, interestingly. So yeah, I'm curious to see what the sound is like. CS43198, and it uses two of them. And it also has the ability to output in SPDIF as well. That's something that you usually don't see on DACs and dongles. So yeah, let's check it out. Okay, so just have to connect to my phone. It'll turn on, and then it says PCM 768K, and then volume. This, I don't know how well you guys can see that. That's like a nice little OLED display here, and I can increase the volume or decrease the volume like this using the built-in physical controls, which is nice. Again, not having to take my phone out of my pocket to do that. And yeah, that's to turn off the display, I think. Yeah, turn on display. Okay, so yeah, this display doesn't show very much, it doesn't do very much, but it just displays the basics, right? So it's nice to have it. Just to have it on something like this is cool, as opposed to my Shanling, which doesn't have anything. So anyways, it's a bit about how it works, and yeah, we're going to test out the sound output. I'm going to tell you guys about the sound output, what I think about it, and then I'll output it through some headphones and do a recording so you guys can maybe hear a difference. And as well, I'm going to go through my spreadsheet again, and then we're going to look at the current state of USB-C dongles and DACs to see how good a value the FiiO KA5 is, because I do think that FiiO makes some of the best value audio products on the market. That's even compared to other Chinese companies like Shanling or Hibi or Hiditz or iBasso or Kayin. So even compared to other Chinese companies on the market, FiiO is good value. So I'm going to take a look at that spreadsheet and see where the KA5 stacks up on there. And yeah, compared to the UA2, and both on the balanced, and I want to see if there's any difference in the sound quality. Alright, so these are the two dongles I went with, the Shanling UA2, which I got 2 years ago, and the FiiO KA5 just recently, and the differences in sound quality are kind of minor. I mean, as you would expect, the difference in amps doesn't make as big of a difference as the difference in headphones or something like that, of course. But I can hear a bit of a difference here. So the Shanling UA2 kind of reminds me of why I stuck with this one for so many years, because for 80 bucks, it really was a nice pickup, and the ESS ES9038Q2 AM DAC in here is pretty top notch. Has a fairly neutral sound, I would say. So sound quality on this one, the power is decent. It has a decent amount of power, but on the balanced, only outputs about 195 milliwatts, Plus, this is the old version with the 2.5. The newer one does have the more common 4.4 millimeter balanced input now. So yeah, that's the only reservation I have about the UA2 is that on the balanced, it doesn't output as much power as some of the newer dongles now. But otherwise, the sound quality, this is pretty good. It's fairly like on the neutral side, but still very detailed, especially for the price. It's very nice performing. The FiiO KA5, though this one's $100, a little bit more than the UA2. The retail price for this is actually, yeah, it's around 130, I would say. It's about $50 more retail price. It does come with a built-in display, of course, so that's obviously one difference between the UA2 and the KA5. The KA5 more directly probably competes with the UA3, I would say, in terms of the price point. Does have a 4.4 millimeter balance, does output more power as well, 265 milliwatts as compared to 195. The actual sound quality difference, I would say that if the UA2 was more neutral, the KA5, it pushes up the treble a little bit. It seems like it's a little bit more dynamic and energetic and a little bit more lively compared to the UA2. I felt like maybe this one is a bit more of like a soft V shape in terms of the sound signature. I mean, I know amps don't really change the sound all that much compared to the natural sound of the headphone, but just from what I'm hearing, you know, relatively speaking, I'm talking about a very minor difference. If the UA2 was a more balanced sound signature, the FiiO KA5 is a slight, maybe U shape, I would say, because it pushes up the treble a bit on this one. I can definitely hear the treble has, the high end has a little bit more clarity compared to the UA2. Other than that, I think, yeah, maybe the mids I felt like are not as, they're a little bit more recessed on the UA5 compared to the UA2, and the UA2 I think is very balanced sounding. The KA5, the treble has more, the high end has more clarity. Felt like the mids were just like a touch pulled back a little bit. But you guys, let me know what you guys think, because I'm going to do a sound test between these two and see if you guys can hear any differences. I know they're just dongles, right? But there's a very minor difference between these two. Maybe you guys can hear it. At least to my ears, I feel like the most notable difference is compared to the UA2, the FiiO KA5 has a little bit more clarity in the high end. But that's the most noticeable difference I noticed. It's a little bit more dynamic, more lively sounding compared to the UA2, which is more neutral. So let me know what you guys think. Stay tuned for the sound comparison test.
Alright guys, so I'm making a spreadsheet of different dongle DACs out on the market today, and there's quite a lot of them now. The market has certainly expanded, and these are going to be roughly the flagship dongle DACs if they have multiple. I just wanted to do a comparison video because I did one for my Shanling UA2 video back a few years ago, so I just want to make another video that's more current today, and now that I'm reviewing the KA5, I thought I might take the chance to do that. So when I bought the K5, that was about 2 months ago. So this is February 2024. They've come out with a new K17 since then. So I put that on the sheet as well. So yeah, for each of these, I have the DAC that they're using, the power that they output, maximum power. The balanced jack is the one I'm using if they have one. Price in US dollars, what type of DSD they support up to, whether or not they have a display, whether or not they support MQA, and of course if they have a balanced output. So yeah, I'm gonna go over briefly over each of these. So the FiiO KA5 on here, of course, that's the video I'm doing this on. Then the FiiO K17, which is a newer model that just came out. The Shanling UA2 Plus, which is, I put this on the video because I compared it in this video here. Yeah, I reviewed this before. And the UA5 is their flagship still. The iBaso DC Elite, which just came out recently. The iFi Go Bar. The Helm Audio Bolt I put on here. I reviewed it a few years ago as well. Cayenne R7. I think that's their top of the line still. So I have that on here. Hi-Dits S9 Pro Plus. THX Onyx still on the market. Hi-B FC6, Astone Current HC4, which I believe is their top end, but Astone Current doesn't advertise their dongle DACs that much compared to their DAPs. The AudioQuest Dragonfly Cobalt, it's old, but I put it on here still because it's still their flagship dongle DAC, despite being several years old. But yeah, still higher, and it's yeah, it's a good point of comparison, right? Because when it came out, it was considered top of the line, but not anymore. The Chord Mojo 2, which a lot of people use portably, even though it's kind of halfway between a portable amp and a desktop one. Luxury Precision, kind of like a lower key Hong Kong company, but they do make some high-end audio DAPs and dongle DACs, I guess. Wu Audio 2 Mini. Wu Audio is a high-end audio company from New York. Pretty unique product that they have here. X Duo and Moondrop, both Chinese audio brands, come up with their dongle DACs as well. So I'm going to go over briefly over each of these, what I think of them. And actually, I'm not going to go over everyone. I'm just going to talk about what I think is the best value here. So just doing comparison, right? We're trying to figure out what is the best value dongle DAC here. So the KA5, the one that I'm reviewing in this video, is pretty good value, just like most of FiiO's other products. It's got two top-of-the-line Cirrus Logic chips right here, outputting 265 milliwatts of power, which is very reasonable, very respectable. It's not the most power on here, but it's very respectable amount of power. Will drive most headphones. $130 is a very reasonable price. So I think that the K5, the one I'm reviewing this video, is still a fairly good value because you are getting a pretty good DAC here. It's a flagship Cirrus Logic, and the amount of output power is pretty decent. It's not the most, but for the price, $130, it's still pretty good. However, the K17 that just came out, and I didn't have access to the K17 when I bought the K5, of course. Otherwise, I probably would have gone for the K17 because this is actually the value leader, I think. So you have two ES Saber. These are very new, recent ES Saber DACs. I haven't tried them, but I heard that they're very good. The ES9069Q, 650 milliwatts of output power. This one has two modes. I guess you can switch it into desktop mode. On the desktop mode, it outputs this amount of power, which is quite insane. It's the second most amount of output power you'll see on the spreadsheet here. If you put it onto desktop mode, the 650 milliwatts of power is basically equivalent to a desktop amp, right? So that's quite a bit. And the price is only $150 US. So if the K17 was out at the time I got the K5, I probably would have gone for the K17 instead because I do think that this is the value leader. Now, the K5 is still a good buy. It's just for $20 more, you can get the K17. I haven't compared this DAC to the CS DAC, but it's supposedly really good. And the output power is, I mean, just look at it, 650 milliwatts of output power is crazy. So yeah, I would say that so far the K17 is probably the best value dongle DAC on this spreadsheet here, because you get 650 milliwatts of power on the desktop mode, and It's still reasonably portable. It's still a dongle. And you get a high-end, I think this is a new flagship, ESS Saber DAC, 9069Q. And you get that all for $150. So that makes the K17 actually the best value dongle DAC on this list, I would say. The other ones, I mean, Shanling, yeah, they still make like okay value, but they're not as good a value as FiiO's. I mean, if you compare it to FiiO stuff, yeah, like the UA5 at $235, that's going to be a hard sell. I mean, especially with the K17 out. The UA5 is not necessarily even better than the K5. It's selling for 230. I think it's a pretty hard sell here. DC Elite's interesting. It's got a Roam DAC, which I haven't heard before. 280 milliwatts of power is okay, but $500 is just way too expensive, so that's going to be a hard sell too. iFi Go Bar, a lot of power, 475 milliwatts. This price is a bit up there though. And the DAC is honestly not as good as some of these other DACs here. This is not a top of the line CS DAC. The CS43198 is, not the 43131. A lot of output power though. But yeah, I think it's a bit pricey. And the K17 is just going to be like, you won't get this over the K17. The K17 is just a better value than this. Helm Audio Bolt, same thing. It's just been outclassed. The amount of output power is really weak. So yeah, it's just been sorely outclassed by the other ones here. RU7 is interesting because it has a 1-bit resistor ladder DAC, which by the way is not exactly R2R because it has 4 channels rather than 2 channels. So it's an extension of R2R. 400 milliwatts of output power is very good. And at $290 is expensive. So yeah, again, this is outclassed by the K17. But I would say for this resistor ladder DAC is interesting. I don't know any other dongle DAC that has this 1-bit resistor ladder. There's not many other companies making a 1-bit resistor ladder DAC, so that's pretty interesting. So I would say that this is still an interesting proposition because of the unique DAC. But I think price-wise, it's still been outclassed by FiiO. Hydits, it's been outclassed. I mean, if you want a budget thing, like this is very similar to UA2 Plus, right? Yeah, if you want a budget dongle DAC under $100, I think the UA2 Plus is still very good and probably would beat out this Hydits, even though they're pretty similar. I mean, the Hydits is just $10 more, but yeah, roughly equivalent, I think. But the UA2 Plus is probably what I would recommend if you have to go below $100. THX Onyx is definitely outclassed. It doesn't have a good DAC, and the output power is underwhelming for this price. So yeah, Hybe's R2R DAC is interesting. I think it's derivative of their Darwin architecture. I do have their DAP with that R2R DAC in it. Output power is very weak though, and for $200, I can't say that's a good sell at all for that weak amount of output power. Aston and Kern, 200 milliwatts for $220 with this AK4493, which is not a top of the line AK DAC. It's a very good DAC, but it's not the flagship. The AK4499EX, I believe, is now their flagship. So yeah, for this price, I can't recommend that one. AudioQuest obviously has been outclassed by now. It's only 125 milliwatts of power. For $200 is not a very good sell, especially when you have all these. I mean, look at the Shanling, right? The Shanling UA2 Plus, you can get it for under $100. Has the exact same DAC as the Dragonfly Cobalt, and more power too. And you can get it for under $100. So yeah, why would you get the Dragonfly Cobalt, right? Chord Mojo 2, a lot of decent amount of power, but it's just really expensive, $600. And for this amount, if you want 400 milliwatts of power, I mean, even the RU7 starts to look like a good deal compared to the Chord Mojo, right? So yeah, I would just like, even the RU7 gets the same amount of output power, but you get a 1-bit resistor ladder DAC here. Although the Chord has this FPGA DAC, but $600, no thanks. Luxury Precision, again, outclassed here. $450 is way too expensive. It's a good decent amount of output power, but I mean, with this LP5108 custom DAC here, not sure how it compares to the 1-bit resistor ladder, but I think I'd rather go for the RU7 or, you know, the K17, which is even better. Yeah, I'd probably just rather go for those other options over the Luxury Precision W4. Now, the Wu Audio 2 Mini is interesting. This uses some custom ESS DAC. I'm not sure they don't say what Saber DAC that they're using here. but with 1000 milliwatts or 1 watt of power here, it's got the most power on this list, and it actually has a built-in tube, which is the only DAC dongle I can think of that has a built-in tube. It's yeah, it's a very interesting design. So very unique. $500 is expensive, but at the same time, it's kind of justified too, because they have a very unique tube design here. So it gives that, you know, that quality of tubes that people like, the warm analog sound of tubes. So I would say that the Root Audio is just a very interesting proposition. So much like the RU7, I would say if you're looking for something different, like with the RU7 has this 1-bit resistor ladder DAC, the Root Audio has this tube inside of it and outputs 1 watt of power for $500. It's, I mean, it's expensive, but it's also unique. So yeah, unlike, you know, the Chord or the iBase, so like for $500, this is actually kind of justified because of the unique design. And the X Duo and the Moondrop here, the Moondrop has the better DAC. It's also a bit more expensive. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say either of these are like that great compared to the KA5. I mean, KA5 has the same DAC as the Moon River and it's cheaper, about the same output power too, and also it's cheaper than the X Duo. So why would you buy the X Duo if you get the KA5? So out of here, I would say the absolute best value dongle DAC is the FiiO KA17 with the flagship ES9069Q, 650 watts of 600 milliwatts of output power for only $150 US. It is absolutely the best value dongle DAC you can get on the market. But if you really want to spend more for something maybe a little bit different or interesting, you could check out the RU7 with a 1-bit resistor ladder DAC, $300. It's definitely more expensive, but I'm not sure, you know, some people might like this DAC better. It's supposedly more warm and analog sounding. And if you want even more warmer analog sounding, you can pay even more for the Root Audio 2 Mini, which is just a unique dongle DAC, right? 1 watt of power is quite a bit and has a very unique design, but it's $500. So that's for the high end. So that's what I would recommend is K17 overall. If you want something a bit more interesting and have more money in your pocket, then try the RU7 or 2 Mini. So that's it. That's my recommendations from this video. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. As always, thanks for watching. I know there's going to be so many dongle DACs in the future as well, but this is what I have here as of February 2024.